Hi, and welcome back to Ask DRTK. Today we're going to look at a studio condenser microphone from MXL. It's the 990 Blaze Edition. Let's check it out. Now, MXL makes a variety of editions of the 990 microphone to match the aesthetic of your live stream or podcast, but we're really interested in what the audio performance is like. So in this video, I'm going to unbox the 990 Blaze Edition. We'll take a look at what comes in the package. Then I'll go through the features and specifications to give you an idea of what you should expect and what maybe you shouldn't expect. Then we'll do some physical tests, so that'll include plosives, handling noise, rejection, distance, etc. And finally, we'll go through and do some microphone audio tests. And so we'll start out with some mic comparisons. All of today's audio will be unprocessed, so you get to hear the 990 out of the box as well as the competitors out of the box. Then we'll do a process demonstration with the 990 just to give you an idea of what tone you might be able to get out of this microphone, and then I'll have some final thoughts. So let's unbox the 990. All right, so let's go ahead and unbox the 990 Blaze Edition. Comes in some nice packaging, shows you what the microphone's all about, gives you information as well. So nice to see a quality package from MXL. Now we'll open the box up, and inside first we're going to see two things. This is a cleaning cloth, actually. MXL really is nice. They give us this cleaning cloth with the microphone, so to keep everything looking good. Also some instructions, so we'll just put those off to the side. Now underneath the foam, what we'll find is a 5/8 to 3/8 adapter, so useful for boom arms. There's also a hard mount. This microphone does not include a shock mount with it. It's only the hard mount on this edition. That's different than some of the other MXL 990 models. And finally, the microphone itself is in a sealed package with desiccant. And MXL is telling us, of course, that moisture can affect condenser microphones, so they want to make sure that this microphone gets to you in optimal condition. So really nice to see that they take that effort to give you a good experience right out of the box. Microphone feels really solid, good build quality from what I can tell. So looks really good out of the box. And now we're on the 990 Blaze Edition. I have it connected directly to my Focusrite 8i6. I have the gain turned to 11 o'clock. There is no processing applied to this microphone. It does have 48 volts of phantom power. And as you can see with this Blaze Edition, it also has 4 red LEDs to kind of illuminate the area underneath the mesh where the capsule is, just to give it a very distinctive look. As I said in the intro, there are a number of versions of this microphone depending on the aesthetic you're looking for. So there's one that has more of a white, clean aesthetic. There's the traditional champagne look. So I encourage you to check those out if you're trying to get a certain look for your stream or podcast. And now we'll take a look at the specifications of this microphone. This is a pressure gradient condenser microphone with a max SPL of 130 dB. It has a cardioid pickup pattern with a frequency response of 30 to 20,000 hertz, sensitivity of 15 millivolts, with a signal-to-noise ratio of 80 decibels A-weighted. Now it has an impedance of 200 ohms and it needs 48 volts of phantom power, and the weight of this microphone comes in at 544.3 grams, so a little bit of weight to this microphone. Now that we've had a chance to unbox and take a look at the specs, let's do some physical tests on this microphone. So I'm going to start with the plosives test. People, because. And yeah, definitely getting plosives through there. We'll also try it with a pop filter. People, because. And that definitely cleaned it up with a pop filter. Now I have this microphone turned slightly across my mouth to try to minimize plosives. You could probably get away with using it this way, but again, you'll need to make sure that it's not facing directly into the path of your breath. So that's just something to keep in mind. Or you can use a pop filter, depends on the look you're going for. And while this isn't a handheld microphone, certainly if you're going to put it on a boom mount or even if it's sitting on a desk stand, you want to make sure that it's not going to pick up a lot of background noise. And of course, I have the included hard mount on the microphone, so let me tap the boom arm. And I would say from my monitoring that it's actually not terrible with the hard mount. I mean, it certainly makes some noise, and you will hear it if you move the boom arm around, but not terrible. Let's go ahead and throw a shock mount on this also. Again, this is not included with the Blaze Edition, but you do have the option to purchase one of the other 990 versions that does come with an included shock mount, or you can just pick up a separate shock mount for this microphone. It's a 62 millimeter body, so you're going to need a fairly wide mount to hold this. So I'll throw the shock mount on and we'll see if that makes any difference. And now I've added up the shock mount from on stage to see if that makes any difference here with the handling noise. So again, I'm going to tap the boom arm. And that did seem to attenuate some of the handling noise. Again, we're not going to get to be completely perfect. This is a condenser microphone, so it is designed to be sensitive, but that should clean it up a bit if you're going to move the microphone around. Now I'll go ahead and test the proximity effect and distance on this microphone. So I'll get up very close. This is the proximity effect on the microphone. I'm basically right on top of it. And although this microphone's susceptible to plosives, you need to talk across from it if you want to engage more proximity effect. Now I backed up to about 3 inches off the microphone, and this is what it sounds like. I'm going to back up in the room, and just so you can see, this is kind of a typical space here. I do have some sound treatment on the walls to help with reverberation, but nonetheless, let's listen to this microphone at distance. So again, here I'm at about 3 inches off the microphone. I'll back up now to about 6 inches away from the mic, and this is how it sounds. Now we're sitting at about 1 foot off the microphone. This is how it sounds in a room, again, that has a fair amount of sound treatment on the walls. Now I backed up a little further. I'm about 2 feet off the microphone. This is the sound you can expect out of the 990. I haven't made any changes to the gain. This is exactly the same settings with this distance. And finally, now we're at about 3 feet off the microphone. This is the sound you can expect to get out of the 990 3 feet away. Now we'll do an off-axis rejection test on this microphone. So now I'm speaking into the front of the microphone, and this is how it sounds. Now I'm turning it to about 90 degrees. This is the sound we get out at 90 degrees. I'll rotate it again around to the back. Now we're at 180 degrees, and this is what it sounds like. Rotating again a little bit further, more like 90 degrees on the other side, and this is the sound we get. And interestingly, to my ears, this microphone is supposed to have a cardioid pickup pattern, but I did find it had a minor bit of sensitivity actually at the back, so almost performing a bit like a supercardioid or hypercardioid. Again, a minor amount of pickup in the back, but just something to be aware of. Now that I've completed the physical tests on this microphone, and I felt it did quite well on most of these tests, we'll go ahead and do some audio tests. This will all be unprocessed audio, and we'll compare this 990 Blaze Edition against a few other cardioid condenser microphones, as well as some dynamic microphones. And starting out the audio test here on the MXL 990 Blaze Edition, I have it connected directly to the Focusrite Scarlett 8i6, 48 volts of phantom power engaged. I have the gain set at 11 o'clock. There is no processing applied to this microphone. This is what it sounds like right out of the box. Now let's compare it to another condenser microphone. And now I'm on the Audio-Technica AT2020. I have it connected directly up to the Scarlett 8i6. Gain set just under noon, so a little more gain on this microphone than the MXL 990. Again, no processing, 48 volts phantom power. This is the sound you get out of the AT2020. Arguably a standard entry-level condenser microphone, really popular with YouTubers, podcasters, even some famous singers actually use this microphone, so a really good standard of comparison. Now let's go back to the 990. And here we are back on the MXL 990 Blaze Edition. Nothing changed again here. Gain at 11 o'clock, 48 volts phantom power, no processing, just to get you used to the sound of this microphone again. Now let's check out another condenser microphone. And now I'm on the Maono PM320S condenser microphone. This is a new and up-and-coming microphone. It's gaining some popularity because of the economical price. This is, again, large diaphragm condenser microphone from Maono, connected directly to the Scarlett 8i6. I have the gain set at about 11 o'clock, so similar sensitivity, I would say, to the 990. No processing applied to this microphone, 48 volts phantom power. This is the sound you get. Look for an upcoming full review on this microphone soon. And once again, back on the MXL 990 Blaze Edition. I'm still in the same room. I haven't changed anything. Gain still set at 11 o'clock. Focusrite 8i6. Now let's go ahead and look at one more condenser microphone. Okay, and now we're on the AKG P170 small diaphragm condenser microphone. I have this connected directly to the Scarlett 8i6. Gain set at about noon. This, of course, requires 48 volts phantom power as well. I wanted to give you an idea of what this microphone, a small diaphragm condenser, sounds like versus a large diaphragm condenser. Again, this is unprocessed audio, nothing going on with this microphone as it sounds out of the box. Let's go back to the 990 before we do a few more comparisons. And yet again, back on the MXL 990 Blaze, so you can get used to what it sounds like before we try out another microphone. Gain set at 11 o'clock, no processing, everything the same. But this time what I'll do is switch over to a dynamic mic. We'll let you hear what it sounds like, and you can see if you like the dynamic mic. And now I'm on the Audio-Technica AT2040 broadcast dynamic microphone. This is to give you an idea of a dynamic microphone versus a condenser microphone, different kind of sound that you're going to get. Again, in a similar price category, the 990 sometimes is a little bit more expensive than this one, but again, very, very comparable. Dynamic mic, condenser microphone, now you have a choice. This is going into the 8i6, no processing applied. I have the gain here set at about 330. Dynamic mic needs definitely more gain than the condenser. This is the sound you get. Now we'll go back to the 990. And once again, back on the 990 Blaze Edition, nothing has changed. Gain 11 o'clock, no processing on this microphone. We'll go ahead and try yet one more mic. And I'm on the Sennheiser XS1 handheld dynamic microphone. I wanted to include a handheld dynamic microphone just so you could compare again what the sound is like out of this type of solution versus the large diaphragm condenser. Connected here directly into the Scarlett 8i6, I have the gain set at about 3 o'clock. This microphone, of course, needs a little more gain as a dynamic versus the condenser. No processing on this microphone, what it sounds like out of the box. That's it for this comparison. Let's go back to the 990. And yet again on the MXL 990 Blaze, gain at 11 o'clock, no changes, no processing. We'll try one more microphone in this unprocessed audio comparison. And now I'm on the legendary Shure SM7B. I chose this microphone to wrap up as the last for comparison just because this is still probably the most sought after microphone for podcasting and for YouTube. There's a lot of other microphones that are very popular too. RE20, check out that coming up in a new review as well. But I chose the SM7B again just because it is so iconic for this application. And here I have it connected up directly to the 8i6. I'm not using a cloud lifter just to make this a fair comparison. I have the gain set just over 4 o'clock, about 4:30 on the Scarlett. So this is the Scarlett driving the SM7B. There is no processing applied to this microphone. This is exactly how it sounds out of the box on my voice. Final comparison again. And while I know it's not exactly a direct comparison in terms of price and microphone type between the 7B and the MXL 990, I wanted to include it because it really does have kind of an iconic sound that a lot of people are looking for. I think you can see that as evidenced by so many videos showing make this microphone sound like the 7B, make the other microphone sound like the 7B. Well, the truth is, if you want it to sound like the 7B, you need a 7B, but that's not to say we can't get great sound out of a lot of other microphones, and I really generally like microphones that have some flexibility that I can EQ to get just the sound that I like. But nonetheless, I wanted to include this one to give you an idea of what the 990 sounds like out of the box, directly compared to the SM7B directly out of the box. And finally, again, we're back on the MXL 990 Blaze Edition. No processing applied. Phantom power of 48 volts. Gain at 11 o'clock on the 8i6. And I have to say, listening to the audio back here in post, the MXL actually has a very even frequency response, as you would expect from the frequency response curve. I think it provides a really kind of natural sound coming through. Probably would benefit from a bit of a de-esser, a little bit of sibilance to this microphone, but it's not overly bassy. I think I would call this, again, a microphone that could be very processing friendly. And so that's what I'd like to do is a few processed audio examples here. I'm not going to go ahead and do a custom processing example for this room. I saved that custom processing for my tutorial videos where I actually show you how to set up a processing chain for a specific microphone to your voice in your room. But here we'll just use a few standardized options from iZotope. So we'll go ahead and start Neutron 3 up and see what kind of sound we get. And now we're on the MXL 990. I've engaged Neutron 3 here with a very basic processing, an EQ and compressor. This is the default podcast setting. So this is the sound that you get out of podcast mode here on the MXL 990. I'll go ahead and switch over to loud broadcast voiceover. Here we are. This has an extreme roll off on the bass and then a boost up in the high presence zone so that you can be heard over top of a lot of noise in the background. That's really the idea of this preset. So you can see kind of what the sound is like here. And lastly, I'll switch over to Big Broadcast 3. I know some of you like to get that broadcast FM sound. Here it is. Huge boost in the bass on this microphone. And again, because this microphone is very flat, it's kind of very malleable here in terms of EQ. I'm not suggesting that you should process the microphone specifically like any of these options, but I just wanted to give you some kind of extremes across the board here on what this would be like, as opposed to doing just a customized processing. We'll save that for another video. And here we are back on the MXL 990 without processing applied. And I think you could tell from that processing that small changes would be in order rather than large changes. Big Broadcast 3 was way too boomy with that huge boost. I don't think we needed that complete roll-off on the loud broadcast voiceover. I think this microphone has plenty of clarity up front without having to do that. So again, I would suggest a more tame approach to processing this microphone. Very small cuts, moderate boost to change the tone a little bit if you like. But again, the sound out of the box to my ears is pretty good out of this microphone. Keeping in mind again that we're using this in a room space. This is not a vocal booth, right? So we're not trying to have a situation here where everything is perfectly silent. But I do think the microphone is doing a great job as far as providing enough signal versus the background noise. And that's really one thing that you want to consider when you're choosing a condenser microphone for a space is what your use case is. Do you need a lot of background rejection? You know, are you streaming, smashing away on a keyboard, a lot of background noise happening? Or do you need something that really picks up every little nuance of the sound you're recording? So again, that's a consideration certainly between condenser microphone and dynamic microphone. But this MXL, I think, has a lot of possibilities. It, to me, performs above its price class. So really, really impressed with this microphone. I think with a little bit of processing, you could definitely use this for a lot of applications, even in voiceover. And you tell me in the comments below if you like the 990, if you think it had good tone, if you preferred any of the other microphones. To my ears, I would say I would recommend this microphone. I think it has a lot of possibilities. Again, very, very EQ friendly. So if you want to make small tweaks, but also has some good sound right out of the box. So I think, again, a lot of you can use this across different applications. So really pleased with that. And if you like this video or found it helpful, think about smashing that like button. It helps others see it. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.